Hello, my dearest friends. Welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. The wrap-ups for the year are slowly but surely coming to a close. This is my one before last that I'm going to do for this year, where I'm going to be discussing my favorite romantasy books of the year. I have about 10 of them. I didn't plan to do 10 because I just wanted to see how many I'm going to see that I've given 4.5 to 5 stars to, and see what I really would like to have them on my wrap up of the year as favorites. And I did come up with 10. So I'm going to discuss all of these books and let you know what I loved about them. And I have to say that for most of these, because I've loved them, I have discussed them in previous videos in the past couple of weeks because they've really left an impression on me. And there is one or two that I haven't really discussed in length, so you're going to encounter those in a moment as well. But essentially, this was a good reading year for me when it comes to Romantasies, because I'm kind of a newbie when it comes to Romantasies. I just discovered them, I think, in 2021, 2022. And then last year and this year is the first year that I've really actively started to look for books that I'm probably going to be intrigued by, that I'm really looking forward to reading in terms of series, authors. And I'm just getting into really having like a portfolio of books within that genre that I really love, and I'm looking forward to discovering more books that are similar to those, or more books that will just surprise me. So I'm always on the lookout for new romantasies to discover. Typically the people that I go to for my romantasy recommendations are Jess from Honest Fiction. I really love also April's recommendations from Happily Ever April. And there's always going to be here and there some recommendations that I'm getting from Instagram or Threads, or sometimes just recommendations through Goodreads. So yeah, essentially I'm always on the lookout for very good romantasy here and there. So I'm going to start on my favorite books within the romantasy genre for this year, and they are in no particular order. I don't have like a top 10 or anything. I love these books equally, or not equally, but I love them all and I cannot rank them. So I'm going to start off with the first series that I managed to binge in 2025, and that is the Kindred Curse Saga by Penn Cole. I have discussed this series in length in a couple of other videos, but I'm just going to do a short recap here so you know what it is about if you haven't picked it up yet by any chance. This is a series that follows our main heroine, Diem, who is living in this realm that is ruled by these demigod creatures called the Descendants. She's not their biggest fan, and she lives in kind of the poorer part in town. She is following in her mother's footsteps to become a healer. And her mother has just recently gone missing, which kind of uncovers different kinds of secrets about her mother's life and identity, as well as her own. And she starts to work with, but also at the same time against, the Descendants. So there is kind of this intriguing plot line when it comes to her going on this quest to first of all find what is going on with her mother, but at the same time to find more about her own identity. In the meantime, she's working together with the Prince of the Realm, Prince Luther, who is a very intriguing character for me, especially as you continue on in book 2 and book 3. We uncover a lot about how he is contributing to our heroine's kind of progression of the story. And there is a lot of found family, a lot of mystery, a lot of action within the series. I was really immersed into the whole world and what was going on with the plot, and I'm very much looking forward to book 4 that will probably release in 2026. So this series overall was a 4.5 star series for me. I gave one of the books 4 stars, the first one, and then the other 2 I gave 5 stars. I know that I'm in the minority because a lot of people didn't really or weren't a fan of the third book because it's quite a chunky book and it felt like a lot. But for me, I was just so immersed that I didn't even notice that it was long. So I really loved it. The second romantasy I would more so say is a YA fantasy with a side plot of romance, and that is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. And it's her continuation within the Hunger Games world that focuses on Haymitch's story. He is a very prominent character within the Hunger Games. We already know that he won his cycle of the Hunger Games from the first 3 books of the Hunger Games. But essentially, this is really his story. So we go back in time, we revisit his Hunger Games cycle, we see how he was picked to participate and who he was participating with, and how his relationship with everyone was progressing. And we see the dramatic kind of aftermath after he had participated. So it's a really intriguing, again, adventure filled, but also emotional kind of story. I really, really loved it. I shed a tear here and there. And yeah, I was definitely a fan of this one as well. Next up is a book that I actually have not discussed in length, I think, or at least I may have done so in one of my wrap-ups when I just finished it. But I'm considering now that I haven't done it a lot of good service on my channel while I did really love it. The book is Heavenly Bodies by Imani Iru. So when I found out that this book focuses on the stars and the zodiac, I was sold. I was so intrigued. The plot of it, and also the romance, and whether the romance is going to be with one of the characters or another of the characters. It was such a mystery to me. I was really, really impressed with the way that the story progressed, and I'm very much looking forward to picking up the next book that actually has already released, so I need to be on the lookout to see if the audio has released so I can pick it up. This book centers on our heroine Elara, who has had this prophecy read out to her that she's going to be falling in love with one of the stars. So this is again a godlike creature. So we've got the stars who are all kind of the rulers of this realm, and she's going to be falling in love with one of the stars, but the prophecy says that once she does that, that both of them will die. So essentially, she's not looking forward to figure out which star she's going to fall in love with. She's actually actively avoiding them, but then certain things happen because one of the stars awakens and gets into her realm, and she decides to run. She goes to a neighboring kingdom where she is given refuge, and the prince of this realm, Prince Enzo, he's an enemy to our heroine because he seems to have some kind of an involvement with whatever has happened to her family, and she is not his fan, and he's not a fan of hers either. But essentially, they both decide to work together to train her so that she can kind of hold her own should she encounter this star that has awoken. So it's a very intriguing kind of a plot. I really highly enjoyed it. And again, I'm very much looking forward to the next book. All right, so the next one, I have to say, is marketed as a romantasy, but actually is more so a dystopian romance. But I put it on this list because I'm not making a dystopian kind of top 10, right? Because I've only read one this year, so it's fitting to put it under this list and not under the contemporaries. So this is Silver Elite by Danny Francis. This year, this book really was really, really hyped, and a lot of people had a lot to say about it. There was some drama, some controversy, but also a lot of people who loved it. And I am one of those who really, really loved it. This story centers on our heroine, Ren, who is having these telepathic or psychic kinds of abilities that are forbidden in her realm. This is more so like an urban dystopian romantasy. So something has happened that has caused certain people to develop these psychic or magical kinds of powers, and those people are being hunted. She has so far been able to hide from everyone that she has these abilities, and her uncle is the one who helps her with everything. And in the start of our plot, her uncle gets captured, and she sees how he's being killed, essentially. And this is where the kind of action plot of the book starts. She decides to join this kind of elite force called the Silver Block, and the general of that Silver Block is our hero, Mr. Cross. He is more so like both an enemy to her but also a protector to her, and there is this push and pull between them, and we uncover a lot of mysteries about herself, about the people that she is surrounded with in the silver block regimen, or I don't know how to call it, but essentially in her block. And there's a lot going on that I was very intrigued by, especially the ending was really, really intriguing. I'm very much looking forward to the next book that will release next year. I was really immersed in this story. It was very much a fun experience for me. I gave this one 4.5 stars, so it definitely deserves to be in my top 10. Now, the next book that I really, really loved, I've talked about this one a couple of times already, is Terror at the Gates by Scarlett Sinclair. This book is an urban romantasy that centers on our heroine who has these amazing magical powers. However, in her city, she's not allowed to use those powers unless a male counterpart, so her father or her husband potentially, because she's not married yet, allows her to use them. And she's really not a fan of that rule, so she decides to escape her city and goes into the neighboring city, where she gets protection from our hero Zarayev, who has a very much a push and pull relationship with her, because on the one hand side, he has vowed to her father to protect her. On the other hand, he is very much attracted to her, but doesn't want to show her that he's attracted to her. So she has the powers to seduce, which I found very much appealing and very intriguing within the book. And she is making do by going into these bars, seducing men, stealing from them, and making ends meet. At the same time, she encounters this artifact, this dagger, that brings a lot of mystery into her life and a lot of trouble as well. And this is where the quest with herself and Zarayev starts, of what exactly is going on, because there is some religious dogma, there is some uh, enemy situations going on that they need to uncover, and also the romance blooms between them while they're discovering all these things. I really, really fell in love with the story, with the scenery, with the atmosphere of the book, with just how gritty and dark, and at the same time how sensual it is. I really, again, fell in love with this story. I would definitely recommend it. I gave this one 5 stars, so it's really one of my favorites of this year. Next up, we've got another one I've talked about quite a lot in the last couple of days with the wrap-ups, but I'm going to mention it regardless, because I did give this one 5 stars and is definitely one of my favorite romantasies of the year, and that is For Whom the Bell Tolls by J.C. Lin. This one centers on a heroine who lives in our world, but comes to pass because she's terminally ill. So she goes into the afterlife, into like this purgatory state, where she gets presented the choice of either going to paradise or figuring out what exactly she wants to do with her soul. And in this afterlife realm, she meets a lot of different creatures and souls, and she's discovering a lot about herself. She's also discovering a lot about what she has missed in life and what she would still like to have in her life. And she also encounters a demon who is part of hell, and they kind of develop a relationship together, both online, if you can believe it, but also offline, because online they have this game that they're playing, and offline they have this relationship of being in a friendly group and getting to know each other, but at the same time helping each other out with certain things. And it's just such a cozy, but also a sexy and cute, but at the same time also kind of cruel at times story. There's just a lot of elements within the story that will bring intrigue to you. And I definitely had no expectations going in when I started this story, but it just took me by surprise. I absolutely fell in love with it. Next up, we've got Direbound. This is by Sable Sorensen. I have talked about this book also in length, I think, a couple of times over. But this book just, again, I dove in and I was immediately intrigued. I was immediately on board with whatever was going on, with the trials, with the action, with the mystery, with how the heroine is going to make it when it comes to whatever is going on with her. And I really wanted to figure out these fantastical creatures, how are they going to contribute to the story and what is her romance going to look like. I was immediately intrigued. I was very much looking forward to discover more about these characters. So that means that this book definitely deserves to be in my top 10. This book centers on our heroine who lives in this realm, and her sister goes missing. There is this legend that has these dire wolves that are these mythical creatures that they kind of have a telepathic power with. So whoever rides the dire wolf has certain, how should I say, not control, but really a relationship with their dire wolf. And she hates them because they stand for something that she just cannot respect. And essentially, she knows that she needs to go on this trial to try to get into the Legion, preferably not as a bonded to a dire bound, but she needs to get into the Legion because this is her best chance of finding more information about where her sister might have been taken. So she goes on this trial to get up this mountain and figure out whether she can get into the Legion, but she doesn't know that this trial essentially is getting her into another trial of getting to the bonded part. And this is where the story goes from there. There is a lot of, again, action, fast-paced intrigue. And again, this relationship with these dire wolves is very intriguing to me. The dire wolf as a side character was very intriguing to me. So yeah, I very much enjoyed this one. And I'm very much looking forward to part 2. So the second book that will come out next year. Next up, we've got Brimstone by Callie Hart. This is book 2 that follows up Quicksilver. I really enjoyed Quicksilver and I very much enjoyed Brimstone. I know a lot of people complained about there being certain problematic things with the editing of this book. And if I had read it physically, I probably would have noticed as well, but I picked up the audiobook for this one and I just didn't notice, so I had a blast with it. I love the audiobook. I already mentioned it in my favorite audiobooks of the year video, and essentially I cannot say too much about this book because it's a second book within a series, but if you aren't familiar with Quicksilver, we've got a heroine who lives in this deserty realm and they're fighting for every single drop of water that they can get and every single bit of food that they can gather. And she has very much trained herself to be this half thief, half soldier, half whatever she needs to be so that she can get whatever she needs for herself and her brother. And essentially, she steals something that she shouldn't have stolen, this kind of artifact that gets her into a lot of trouble. She gets captured. And whenever she was in captivity, she, through certain circumstances, gets teleported into another realm. And this is a Fey realm where she discovers that she's actually an alchemist. She has a relationship with this certain kind of metal, Quicksilver. And the Fae are relying on her to help them make weapons from this Quicksilver. And the story goes from there. I don't want to go into too much detail. So essentially, it's a very intriguing kind of a story that features a lot of, again, mythical or fantastical kinds of creatures. So we've got Fae, we've got other creatures I don't want to mention just to not spoil it for you if you haven't picked it up yet. And I really loved it. I love the romance within this one, the found family, the banter, the humor, the emotion, everything that was in this book, or actually in both the books, I fell in love with. So this needs to be on my top 10 for sure. I'm definitely looking forward to the next book for this one as well. Next up is a surprise to me specifically because I did not like book 1 within this series and I was very much hesitant about picking up the second book, but I'm so happy that I did because this one I actually loved. I'm talking about Mate by Ali Hazelwood. The first one, Bride, I really didn't love, but then Mate, I ate it up. I completely ate it up. So within this one, we've got this paranormal romantasy situation going on with our heroine being the first known hybrid, like a half-blood. She's half human, half werewolf. And because she's very much sought after, she needs to go into hiding. And she goes into hiding with her mate, someone whom she has rejected. So we've got a rejected mate situation going on, and the hero, he's very much aware of the fact that she is his mate. He has pursued her, she has rejected him, but they have this banter going on that is this very typical kind of Ali Hazelwood banter. At the same time, we see the yearning and longing from his side. We see how she's discovering certain character traits within him that she has kind of always been blind to. And there is this mystery, there is this intrigue, certain situations with some action in the plot, but we also have a lot of forced proximity, a lot of situations where they need to get to know each other in kind of a new light, and she sees just how overprotective of her he is and how much he is giving up to protect her, because he is the leader of his pack, and he has been the leader of his pack since he was 15. So there's a lot of situations of him having to put her first and sacrifice his position because of their relationship. And it's so good. I just did not expect this one to be as good as it was, because having read Bride, that one just didn't work for me. I was kind of prejudiced against this one, but I fully ate it up. Like I mentioned, the yearning, the longing, it's what I live for in books. So this one just really worked for me. The last book I'm going to talk about is one that I really haven't discussed a lot on my channel because I just recently read it. I also haven't heard a lot of people talking about since it came out. It's Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. It's her latest release that has nothing to do with the Caraval series that she has in the spin-off series. It's a completely new romantasy. This one centers on our heroine who, if my memory serves me right, she's a twin. And her twin lives somewhere abroad. She lives in the States and she goes to college and she's taking these classes that have her very intrigued about certain things. So she lives, I think, in LA, and there is this kind of a myth going around through her classes that there is this guy called the Watchman who can tell you exactly when you're going to die. So she decides to visit the Watchman, and she gets to know that she's going to die the next day around midnight, unless she finds this specific artifact called the alchemical heart. So she meets this stranger, this kind of ominous, intriguing guy that might be able to help her. But then she meets another guy who claims that her sister sent him to help her. And she is kind of desperately looking forward to find whom she can trust with whatever is going on with her. So there is a lot of mystery. There is almost this kind of a detective style quest. So there is this little kind of noir feeling about this book that I really highly enjoyed. And the fact that we really don't know who to trust, including the heroine in this book, was just so intriguing to me. I found that I was just wanting to find out what exactly is going on and who is this Watchman guy and who are these guys? Is the heroine going to have a romance with one of them? My romance longing heart is always looking forward to find out who the hero is in the story. So I was very much intrigued by this one. I highly enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it as well. All right, my dearest friends, these were my favorite reads in the romantasy genre that I read in 2025. Please let me know if you enjoyed any of these. If you have any others that I haven't yet discovered, let me know what your top 10 has been for the year. And I'm going to see you tomorrow with my wrap up of my favorite contemporary romances of the year, one of my favorite videos to film in the year. And with that, I hope to see you tomorrow again. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care and